Hey, it's Allie Edwards and welcome back to December Daily for 2017. In this video, I am actually going to do 23, 24, and 25. As many of you guys know, for me, this is definitely a month-long project, or a project that goes for a lot of the month. One of the reasons why I like to do it daily during the actual days leading up to December is because by the time Christmas Day has come and gone, I am done. I'm done. Well, I feel done with this project. And I know lots of people do work on their project after Christmas has passed or after December has passed. And I really want to encourage everybody to embrace whatever works for you and for your situation and for your family and for your own creativity. For me, when after Christmas Day passes, I am super ready to be done with this. And so one of the things that I'm saying to myself while I'm here in my office is, how can I savor these last few stories? Some people would say, but these are the most important stories out of the whole thing because it's Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I don't really subscribe to that philosophy. As many of you guys have heard me before, I think it's the sum of all of these stories throughout the month that is really what makes these albums magical. It's the little stories added, plus the bigger stories, all those kinds of things added together, rather than it being, just about Christmas Day. Because if it's just about Christmas Day, you could just do a layout to talk about Christmas Day, right? So for me, I'm actually okay with going into these last few days and doing them, I want to say not really doing them quickly, but it's more of doing them as a kind of a whole thing together, to the 20, 23, 24, 25. For us, those days all kind of blended and merged together. And I think that I'm going to write a little bit about that in my journaling as well, just as a reference of kind of what has happened. So as a reminder to you guys, back on 22, we had story of shopping, story of lunch with Anna. Then I have this page that I had already done for the product play workshop. So I'm going to leave that as 23. I have a picture of the girls here that I think I'm just going to punch this out in a circle, add them on here, and then add one other one over here. This is still technically day 22 in my life, but I don't care if it becomes a part of day 23. And really for me, it becomes a part again of this whole story, right? The whole story of the season is really what I'm talking about. So then I have a photo of all of us when we went to visit Aaron's parents in Portland. So I'm going to adhere this on the back. I'm going to add a little bit of washi tape, probably along the bottom here, maybe this red striped one, or I had a kind of a glittery one here. And then I think I'm probably going to write something along here, probably going in this direction, I think. So this was the day before Christmas Eve. And then we'll go in and we'll do the gratitude list and then come into Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So these kind of are all, like I said, just the last few stories that I want to add in. I printed out a bunch of 6x8 photos. So most likely I am going to be using the 6x8 photos as the last few stories here. Just because I like having a few big photos, and I don't take a lot of pictures on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I usually just get a few. So I have a couple here that included all the kids, and that was kind of my goal in terms of picking out those photos. So what I'm gonna do is I am just gonna go back here. We're gonna start with this one, and then I will just work through the last few pages. Okay, so first up in my process here was to find the number 23. And so day 23 is going to end up spreading across a couple spreads. That includes this, and then includes a photo, and then includes the thank you cards is what I decided to do. I used I think it's a 1.5 circle punch to punch that photo of the girls there. Adhered the back of the cork 23 and added that onto one of the circles that I already had there. Again, as always, this is a great example of being able to have a ton of this work done in advance, right? The majority of these circles were already completed as part of my product play class. So then I was able to just go in and add a few more things. I could have added a ton more story here, but as you'll see, I decided to treat my story a little bit differently for these last few days, and I typed it all up and put it on the back of tags. I have done that in the past for these last couple of days. Also, right there, what I wanted you to see is I did end up using one of the rubber pieces from Liz Tamanaha's Paisley Press kit, the holiday cheer, and I covered that on top of the circle that had the word routine on it because that wasn't really the story that I ended up telling. On the back of one of these circle pages there, or the page with the circles on it and all of the stars, I am adhering a photo that we took at our first holiday celebration with Aaron's parents. And I went ahead and am going to cover that with some washi tape that you'll see in a second here. I'm using a words and phrases rolling stamp to slip that into the Avery Index tabs there that I already had available. Used a little bit of red striped washi tape. This one has a little bit of a metallic sheen to the red, but I had printed that picture out and it just was a little bit too short for my page. So that was the way that I decided to cover up that piece of it rather than completely reprinting another photo. And then I decided to just write Christmas with the McKerchers on top of the photo. I liked how there was just the space above all of us there where I could add that in by hand. Again, the full detail of the story is going to be included on a tag that you'll see in a little bit here. So next up is I had these tags set aside already for gratitude cards, and we just went ahead and took them over to my computer and I wrote things that I was thankful for, and you can see these in the images on my blog of what I actually wrote. But it was a little bit about the holidays. It was also just about the phase of life we're in right now and where I'm at and how things are different than they've been in the past and kind of embracing change and things like that. As you can see, then I added just a little bit of ribbon on top of those tags and slipped them into the pocket. Again, that was a page that was set up in the product play workshop back in November as well. I have a giant picture of Aaron and I drinking Prosecco here on Christmas Eve that I decided to use as one of my photos for that day. And I'm just trimming off the excess that went around the back of that page there with the tag. So I'm adhering that directly to the back. The tool I'm using right here is called a power punch. I could have easily used the 6-hole punch, which you'll see me do in a few minutes again, but it was just the one that I reached for first of all. I do have the little flap flipped up on the top of the power punch there so I could see where I was punching the holes. Next up, I took the Mary that was from the main kit. This has a little bit of gold flecks built into the cork there, and I'm adding that onto the photo of our glasses there. For those of you that might be wondering, those were from World Market. We actually got those to have for our wedding too, for our dinner at our home here. And then I went ahead and I'm just kind of laying out where are the rest of these things going to go. I have all these 6x8 pictures that I want to include. And then I'm thinking still about how do I want to add in the story at this point. And then I'm going to end up, like I said, deciding that I'm going to put all the words onto those tags. I took out the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Oh, you'll see that again in a little bit too. See, I'm forgetting. I'm kind of just looking through and adding a few things on. Embellishing one of the photos that'll be used for the 25th there, kind of slipping things into the pockets just to help get myself ready. Removing the rest of the page protectors, knowing that I'm going to want to have this other 6x8 photo in there. Again, I don't take a ton of pictures on Christmas Day because partly I just want to hang out. And so I usually just pick a few that I feel like are representative of this season. So I went over to my computer and I created a 4x8 text box and then wrote out journaling for day 23 and day 24, and I adhered that to the back of one of those gold foil tags. I also took the 'Twas the Night Before Christmas diamond shape and I backed it with some white cardstock because I wanted to be able to see it really well and didn't want the transparent nature of it. I didn't need it that way. So I used some foam adhesive then and I adhered it to the top of that tag just as a simple embellishment to go on the one side there. So when you flip it over, you will see all of the storytelling for for day 23 and 24. I added a chipboard piece to my picture of my pot roast before I put it in the oven. That's a Pioneer Woman recipe for the pot roast. And that was very delicious. Everybody was happy with that. Next up, I went over to my computer and printed out, you can see that just from the other side there, printed out additional journaling for my Christmas Day story. And so that, again, is just very practical. Like, this is what happened. This is what we did. This is, the kids got picked up, blah, 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 those kinds of things. So I added those stories in there onto there as well. And then I'm grabbing some ribbon. This is ribbon that was from a past December Daily kit a long time ago. And as you can see, I've been stapling them throughout the whole thing. So I'm just trimming off those little pom-poms, going to add it into the album there. So I definitely got what I felt like was the story, story with words to included. And sometimes the easiest way to do that is to just separate them, like to not worry about them fitting them on a photo, to not worry about having to deal with them from any sort of design standpoint, but just being able to focus on the words, which is one of the reasons why I like journaling on my computer. I can come, sit at the computer, I can focus just on that, print it out, and then add it into my album. I also punched out one of the journal cards there, added it to the top using a 1-inch circle punch, playing around with a couple different embellishments on top of the photo, and then deciding to just stick with 2. Then I ended up where I had a 6x8 photo, and I still wanted to use this Merry Christmas card as well as the photo of all the kids sitting on the couch. So I decided to just adhere it to the back of that page. I printed out a second photo because I had a white border and I knew that I was going to need to trim a little bit on there. So I reprinted that, and then again, I'm adhering this to the back of the photo. So, I don't always do this, but if there's different pieces, I needed them to be adhered down to something. And then I will be slipping this into the pocket after I add a couple of embellishments onto this last photo. If you look through my albums, I don't always have like an end page, but I think just having this as a Merry Christmas end page worked out really great. So I'm adding the felt heart on there. On top of the felt heart, I'm adding a long chipboard piece that was from one of the chipboard sets, and then adding one other little embellishment there as well. And then this will wrap up my album for 2017. I just want to send out a big thank you to everyone for participating, for watching, for cheering me on, for telling your own stories, and for being a part of this December Daily community. I'll be back again next year in 2018 with a new round of products, a new round of stories, and just we'll be back again. In the meantime, I'd love to invite you to come and check out AllieEdwards.com for additional projects I have during the year.